I wanted to spend some 10 minutes asking questions. I think asking relevant questions is the most important part. And if you're able to find answers to even some of them during the day, we will be more enlightened to our next milestone that we're working on to. I just wanted to ask the first question, and and believe me, none of this is ChatGPT, by the way, right? Because a lot of people talk about, generating your speeches and content. None of this is. My first question is carbon versus silicon. Carbon versus silicon, who wins? It's a dilemma which is being faced by our generation. And the answer that we give to this question will have very long-standing ramifications to next generations to come from our generation. What does that mean? Are we looking at AI replacing humans? And how? If how, it will. That's the first. And that is the real transformation which is going to happen in our societies going forward. We've already seen the mayhem it has caused across organizations. I think I don't need to talk about it. These newspapers are screaming about this all across. Right? How do we find an answer to this? Can you compete with machines, first of all? A programmable machine that is deterministic. In an era where even our emotions are programmable. That's the question that I'm asking. Our emotions are also programmable. At the same time, the kind of memory which a large language model has, can we compete with that in terms of knowledge? I don't think so. The answers could be disturbing or could be life-changing and transformational for our generation. Does that mean we co-opt with the machine? Co-opt means we have a cooperation with the machine. Like you are playing tennis not against the machine, but the machine is acting like a better racket for you in playing tennis. Right? There are three scenarios, right? I'll give you, and this is a constant danger we are facing in our society. It is leading to skill atrophy. I don't know how would you, I'll explain this skill atrophy to you. And it is coming not to our generation, because our generation has walked up the skill ladder. The skill ladder is that you do the grunt work, when you actually sit, code, do the whole piece, then the next level, then you become the expert, then you become the SME. That skill ladder our generation has crossed, but will our next generation cross that skill ladder? And what does that mean? Right? Suppose I give you a set of data, a set of customer data in Excel. You do the grunt work like in 20 years ago, and you would do the grunt work, analyze, come up with a report. This is where the thing is. The next generation, you build a machine learning model on the Excel, which actually does the modeling on top of it and gives you the analysis. And the third situation, where you rely on an algo to do the entire number crunching and come up with a report. Problem is, our next generation is moving to the third scenario, which is leading to skill atrophy, where people are not using their skills. We know that AI as a technology is much better in doing those skills, but basic skill atrophy can actually lead to an intellectual deficit in human race. That is the question that I wanted to ask in terms of carbon versus silicon. And that is the dilemma we face in our organizations, in our families, in our societies, across the world. So, are humans replaceable? if you put it on a continuum, there are X and Y axis. There is the social acceptability of a machine doing it versus technical feasibility of the machine doing it. If this is the two continuums we are talking about, there are certain tasks in a 4x4 matrix which will be completely taken over by. But what do we need to do? Question. I'm not answering, I may not have the right answers, but it's a question that I wanted to leave with you all to understand. How do we build a moat for human generation, for our next generation to be adaptable, to be creative, to be flexible, right? And not let the AI take over. We are very near singularity. I'm sure you would, as technologists will be following up this. I think next 3 to 4 years we would reach a singularity situation. And there are organizations which are already talking about it. So a human skill, the basic human skill, needs a gym. And how do you gym a human skill? Even though a computer can do it better, learn it, do it. Even if with lesser efficiency in terms of time, but do it, learn it. I think that's where we need to think about and ponder in terms of how to create our own relevance across. And to do that, what is the most important thing that we are talking about? To do that, I think we have to look at metacognition. When I'm looking at metacognition, I'm looking at the way I think. If you look at somebody else's code, the way it has been written, you will understand how he is thinking, right? Similarly, if you are able to introspect and see how you're thinking, that metacognition ability is there, you will be able to refine and outdo any specific machine that is there. Right? So that is the point I wanted to leave with you, specifically around metacognition. Critical thinking, social skills, extremely important, ethical thinking, right? Can you further your skills around mind reading, around negotiation, around trust, basic human skills? Believe me, machines will become very good as the time goes in algorithmically building trust. And we humans will lose it. So how do we build that? So these are 3-4 areas that we need to think through from our standpoint in terms of carbon versus silicon. I just wanted to leave that question. Carbon or silicon, which is the one that we have to go to. And how do we go ahead and build this going forward? And then the last question, how would the division of labor be between machines and humans? The division of labor between, so we kind of rewriting Frederick Taylor's managerial philosophy in terms of division of labor. Now it's not division of labor, it's division of labor between humans and machines. How do we look at that? That's a question that we need to think together on. What can be better efficiently done by machines versus what can be better efficiently done by humans? That's the question that I think because if you start trusting machines, what will happen is, I'm quoting somebody here, it's a very interesting book called Rehumanize. There will be a goal divergence between the machines and humans. The day that happens and you have closed loop development which keeps happening, there will be dilemmas which as a generation we have to become. So we have to be very cognizant of these as we move forward. These are my questions. I just thought I will provoke some questions during the day, and probably you can ponder over them, look for some answers, and introspect internally as well. How do we be relevant in the AI world, where the transformation is not only organizational or business, but the transformation is very personal this time. Very, very personal. Yeah. That reminds me, you can use. I did a very interesting thought experiment. You can probably do that. I'll leave one practical thing with you, and that was to build a personal board using artificial intelligence for your own self, having multiple personas of yourself at 10 years, yourself as 30 years, yourself as 40, 80, and let that board advise you. And you will have a very different perspective of life. Because what the board at year 10 would, the persona at year 10 would tell you versus what your persona at year 80 will tell you, will actually balance your life out. And will give you a direction as well. Yeah? I rest my questions here. I can go on and on questions. But all the best to the team and happy learning. And probably we'll have better answers with respect to silicon versus carbon going forward. Yeah, thank you very much.